Hello and welcome back to the NBA Cast and to the first video recording of the podcast. I'm super excited to do this. Got a new webcam about last week. First time trying to use it. Been working with it for a while. So hopefully this turns out all right. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on improvements you'd like to see. But let's see how this goes going forward. So, great episode today after the first couple weeks of the NBA. I'm going to be covering three different topics today. I'm going to be talking about the MVP race, who I have number one, and who I would take out of the top five and replace. We're going to be discussing the top three biggest disappointments in the season so far, as well as the top three emerging stars in the NBA also this season. So, let's get straight into it, shall we? So starting off with the MVP race, the rankings came out a couple days ago where they have LeBron James ranked at number one and Luka Doncic ranked at number two. So Lakers currently have the best record in the Western Conference, playing at full strength, however. So LeBron's so far averaged 24 points a game, about 8.5 rebounds and 8 assists, and is, like I mentioned, the first seed, playing alongside Anthony Davis still and a full-strength squad. Even though they lost Dwight Howard this year, JaVale McGee, who they traded, they've made some great additions with, Marc Gasol, who is, a solid defender, can also hit the three-point, Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, so they've got a very good team. But who I'd actually have ranked number one so far in the MVP race is Luka Doncic. So they don't have the best record in the West, obviously, as the Lakers do. However, Luka is averaging 27 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, and is in the top 8 of the Western Conference so far. No Porzingis. Porzingis is still out. He's set to return next game, apparently. But so far, Luka's been doing this without Porzingis, running the offense himself, and he's putting up incredible numbers as always. So I have him a lot more valuable to his team at the moment. I think if you take LeBron off, you still have AD, Schroeder, Harrell, Kuzma, Gasol. They still have a really good, solid team that I think would be still having a pretty good season. So that's why I'd have Luka number one right now going forward. But who I'd take out, they had Paul George at number three, and he's having a good season. He's roughly 24 points, I think around 5 rebounds. However, they're not really playing that well, to be honest. If I've watched a lot of their games this season, they blew a massive lead a couple of days ago to the Warriors, where Steph Curry came back on them and ended up winning that game. So it's another blown lead for the Clippers again. And Paul George's numbers, they're pretty good, but I just don't think they're actually playing that well. So I would actually take Paul George out of the top 5 in MVP vote so far. And I would actually add Giannis in, who was down at the 6th seed. They haven't been amazing either, but they've got a lot of new pieces this year that they're adjusting to. So they've obviously lost Eric Bledsoe and replaced with Drew Holiday from the Pelicans, who I think was a really good pickup. But Giannis, he's still averaging 27 points, 10.5 rebounds, and 5 assists, and they have a better record than the Clippers. So that would be my replacement. I'd be taking out Paul George and replacing with Giannis into the top 3. Really like Steph Curry being mentioned in the top 5. Dude's been insane this year, 62-point game, incredible, just putting the Warriors on his back and doing everything he can to try and win. Unfortunately, had a bad game yesterday, but that's going to happen. You can't be the best every single night trying to get this team some wins without Clay, and with Draymond averaging nothing on the points end of it, someone's got to do the scoring. But speaking about Warriors, this actually leads me into my second topic of the day, which is top 3 biggest disappointments so far. If you've watched any of the Warriors games, I think you should notice Kelly Oubre Jr. shooting performance this year. I thought coming across to the Warriors and with Clay unfortunately going down, he would step up, get more ball, and obviously increase his performance from last year, where he was shooting 35% from three. Obviously with being on a team with Steph Curry and Clay, who obviously isn't playing, but you would be able to do some great shooting drills, learn from arguably the best shooter of all time in Steph, with Clay being another top 5 shooter of all time. He's shooting so far 7 made threes from 51 attempts. That's 13.27%. 13.7%. It's shocking to see. Unfortunately, and I've watched a lot of the games so far, a lot of his looks are wide open. No defensive pressure. They're literally just letting him shoot. That's how bad this shooting slump has been. Hopefully he can turn this around really quick, because Steph needs some help and the Warriors really need his shooting. Otherwise, it's going to turn into, like a Simmons, Giannis type thing, where people are just lagging off, not worrying about them on the three, which, is obviously putting the defensive pressure on someone else, most likely Steph, and doesn't really spread open the floor enough for other players to get shots and create offense if they're just leaving Kelly by himself. Next, the second biggest disappointment so far that I'm going to look at is the Washington Wizards. So obviously last year they were only 25 and 47 as a record, 25 wins, 47 losses. However, that was Bradley Beal, no John Wall, so he didn't really have a second star helping him. And that's all they'd done. But this year they traded John Wall and picked up Russell Westbrook. Now, Westbrook, he cops a lot of flack, for people saying he's just a stat chaser, hogs the ball too much, his shooting wrecks everything, because he's not a great shooter at all. However, with Westbrook and Bradley Beal, I thought this would be a really good backcourt, and Bradley Beal showing it this year. He's been incredible, averaging about 34 points a game so far, had a 60-point game, trying to do everything he can. However, the Wizards are at 3-8. At the moment, with that record, they're on track to go around 18 wins, 54 losses, 19 wins, 53 losses. This is a team I thought, with the addition of Westbrook and having 2 healthy All-Stars, they should be pushing to be an 8th or 7th seed, I thought. They're currently pushing to be in the top 5 in picks. It's not good. They've just lost Thomas Bryant as well to a knee injury. I believe it was an ACL, so he could be out for the season. And it's really unfortunate to see. However, I think they need to step it up somehow. Beal's doing everything he can. Westbrook's, averaging those triple-double type numbers. However, just the shooting is killing. And I think Bradley Beal's quote the other day really explains a lot. And that quote was, "We can't even defend a parked car." That's when you know your defense is atrocious and your team needs to step it up a lot. So 3-8, not happy with them. Talking about another 8-loss team, the Toronto Raptors, 2-8. From a team that won the finals to last year, having a good playoff run, to starting this season 2-8. They still have Van Vliet, they still have Lowry, they still have Siakam. Yes, they lost to Barker, but they still have a really solid team, some good shooting. And Anunoby's back; he's not injured anymore. They've got Butcher, he's a solid player as well. They've got a lot of talent there. Great coach in Nick Nurse. I really rate him as a coach. So to see them start the season 2-8, they blew, a lead they had most of the game today and lost to the Blazers by 1, which was really, bad to see for them. It's just been a really bad start to the season for them as well. So to sum up the biggest 3 disappointments so far, we've got the Toronto Raptors with a 2-8 start, the Wizards with a 3-8 start, and Kelly Oubre Jr. shooting 13% from three. Not sure if he's thinking about a career as a bricklayer, but he's on a good start if he wants to do that next season. But the final topic I wanted to go over today was top 3 emerging stars that I've got so far in the league. So I'm going to start with Christian Wood, who signed with the Houston Rockets this year. He's getting some good minutes starting this year, but has been playing unreal, pretty much just under a double-double with only 9.7 rebounds, so about 10 rebounds a game, which is up from 6 last year, averaging 23 points a game, which is up from 13. So that's a 10-point and 4 rebound increase from last season. He's been playing incredibly well. Big part of the reason Rockets have any wins this year, obviously with the lineup being in and out with Harden and Wall and rest. They've had players out with unfortunately COVID protocol, but Wood has been solid and is playing really well. Good contender for most improved this year if he keeps this up. The next I've got is Collin Sexton. He's been really good for the Cavs this year, leading with the 25 points a game, which is up from 20 last year, and has them currently at a 5-6 record, which is just under 500. He's playing really well, shooting the ball well, getting to the basket well. He's very quick up and down the court, and I think he's rising as an emerging star as well this year. And without obviously another big star there, since obviously LeBron's left, Kyrie's left, they still have Kevin Love, who he's not really an all-star anymore, but he's a solid starter. Good 3, spread the floor, big, can get rebounds as well. I think he's taken a real good step forward this year to be that number 1 on their team and really set himself as the next up-and-coming star. But to finish off I've got Jalen Brown. He's always been a solid player over the last few years. He's always getting better and better each year, I found. This year, though, he's really started off the season hot. He's got himself from 20 points a game last year up to 26 points a game this year. He's also averaging about 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists, which is also an increase of about 1.5. He's up from 2 assists last year. His play, along with Jason Tatum, have the Celtics leading the East currently at 7 wins and 3 losses. Playing really solid basketball, shooting the ball very well. He's also a great defender, Jalen Brown, so he's a great two-way player. And if he keeps playing the way he is, wouldn't be surprised if he is looking for the All-Star team this year, playing really solid basketball. And that pretty much rounds out the top 3 emerging stars. So just to summarise, I've got Sexton, Jalen Brown, and Christian Wood. So this is a really solid start to the year, really liking it. Some honourable mentions for the MVP race, by the way. I think Jokic, if they can get their record a bit better, dude's a walking machine with stats. Best passing big I think I've seen since I've started watching basketball, 15 years ago when I was in high school. And he's just a really good rebounder, can shoot the ball, can post you up. Obviously his athleticism is not amazing, but he's very clutch as well. He's hit some great, like last season he hit a few game winners. This year he hit a shot to take the game into overtime, little mid-range fade. But he's pretty much like a walking triple-double when he wants to be. Stat machine. I think if they can continue winning and he keeps playing the way he is, I think Jokic could also enter the MVP conversation. They had him ranked at, I believe it was around 7. I'd probably have him top 5, to be honest. I'd probably move Curry up to 4, Giannis into 3 to take over Paul George. I'd move Jokic up into 5. So that was really good as well, I think, from him this year. So if he can continue that, honourable mention there for the MVP race. But that is it for today's episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of the video. If there's any improvements you want to see with that, just leave a comment down below. You can follow my Twitter at NBAUSCAST at NBAUSK, so NBAUSK. You can also leave a comment with any video ideas you want me to discuss in the next episodes, any certain topics or debate points. We've discussed the GOAT conversation in the past, so any other type of topics that you want to see, just let me know. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode of the NBA AUSCAST.